Welcome to Eldridge Hollow. Eldridge Hollow was a sleepy town. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Except for at the Hawtorne House, that is. The house stood on a hill overlooking the town. It was a Victorian mansion with a dark history. Locals whispered about it being haunted. They said the original owner, Mr. Hawthorne, went mad. He supposedly locked his family in the house and burned it down with them inside. The story was just a legend, though, right? At least, that's what Sarah's friends kept telling her. But Sarah loved a good ghost story, and something about the Hawthorne House called to her. This Halloween, she was determined to find out the truth. Sarah's friends Emily, Ben and Chris weren't so sure about the house. They thought it was creepy. But Sarah was persuasive. "Guys, it'll be fun," she insisted. "We'll bring flashlights and cameras. We can be ghost hunters." Ben, always up for a challenge, was the first to give in. All right, he said. "But if we see Mr. Hawthorne's ghost, I'm out of there." Emily and Chris eventually agreed. And so, on a chilly Halloween night, they found themselves at the bottom of the hill. The Hawthorne House loomed above them, dark and imposing. It was time to face their fears. The old iron gate creaked open with a groan. The friends stepped onto the grounds of Hawthorne House. Weeds grew wild, and the trees seemed to reach for them with skeletal branches. The air grew colder as they approached the porch. The front door was unlocked. It swung open with a low moan, inviting them inside. The air inside was stale and thick with dust. Moonlight filtered through grimy windows, illuminating cobwebs and shadows. The house was like a time capsule. Furniture sat draped in dusty sheets, and faded portraits stared down from the walls. It was eerie but also fascinating. They explored the ground floor together, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Every creak of the floorboards sent shivers down their spines. The house was a labyrinth of rooms, each with its own haunting atmosphere. They found a grand dining room with a long, dusty table set for a meal never served. A music room held a silent piano with yellowed keys. Finally, Sarah suggested they split up. "We'll cover more ground that way," she said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Emily and Chris decided to stick together, while Ben, emboldened by a false sense of bravery, declared he would tackle the upstairs alone. Up on the second floor, Ben wandered down a long hallway lined with portraits. He swore he saw the eyes in the paintings follow him as he passed. He stopped to listen, his heart thumping in his chest. Was that a whisper he heard, or just the old house settling? He shivered, feeling a cold spot despite the muggy air. A shadow flickered at the end of the hallway. He froze, holding his breath. Was it just his imagination playing tricks on him? Or was something moving in the darkness? Downstairs, Sarah found herself drawn to a room at the back of the house. It was a nursery with a dusty crib and faded wallpaper depicting playful animals. But what drew her attention was the rocking chair in the corner. It was moving. Slowly, she reached out and stopped the rocking. But the moment she let go, it started again, as if pushed by an unseen hand. Goosebumps erupted on her arms. A cold draft swept through the room, and she could have sworn she heard a baby cry. But when she turned toward the sound, there was nothing there. Meanwhile, Emily and Chris found themselves in the kitchen. It was a large industrial space with rusted pots and pans hanging from the ceiling. A single window cast an eerie glow on the old discoloured appliances. As they explored, Chris stumbled upon a loose floorboard. Curiosity getting the better of him, he pried it open. Beneath it was a set of stairs leading down into darkness. "A basement," Chris whispered excitedly. Emily wasn't so sure. The hairs on the back of her neck were standing on end. "Maybe we shouldn't," she said, her voice trembling. But Chris was already halfway down the steps, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. Down in the basement, the air was damp and heavy. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the only light came from their flashlights. The basement was cluttered with forgotten relics of the past. Old furniture, broken toys, and stacks of dusty boxes. In the far corner they found a locked wooden chest. They worked together to pry it open, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Inside they discovered stacks of old photographs and journals. The photographs depicted the Hawtorne family, a stern-looking man, a woman with sad eyes and 2 young children. They looked happy, normal. As they flipped through the photographs, Sarah, Ben and Emily rejoined Chris. They huddled together, their eyes glued to the images. One photo in particular caught their attention. It showed the family standing on the front lawn, their smiles strained. But it was the shadowy figure lurking in the background that sent shivers down their spines. The figure was tall and gaunt, with long, sharp fingers. It seemed to be staring directly at the camera, its eyes glowing with malice. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. She had the unsettling feeling they were not alone. Suddenly the house seemed to sigh around them. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. A cold draught swept through the basement, extinguishing their flashlight. They were plunged into darkness. Panic surged through the group. They stumbled over each other, desperate to escape the suffocating blackness. Finally, they burst out of the house and into the night. As they ran, they could have sworn they heard laughter echoing from the house. A single light flickered in the topmost window, then vanished. The Hawtorne House stood silent on the hill, keeping its secrets. And somewhere, in an old photograph, a shadow smiled.